Hello to all of you from around the world. I want to welcome you to another great edition of SOULIVITY Today, broadcasting live from our studio right here in the nation's capital, Washington, D.C., and on KMID 1490 AM radio in Southern California. My name is Brian Westley Johnson, and we have such an amazing show coming up for you today. You know, in recent reports by Ramsey Solution, they say it's a strange time in America for personal finance. Despite record levels of stubborn inflation, fewer people say they struggled to make ends meet in the first quarter of 2023 compared to previous reports. But this improvement conflicts with the increasing number of Americans who say things aren't getting better for them financially. Now, one possible explanation for this disagreement: Americans may just be surviving, not thriving. So today we want to help each of you move your personal finances into a state where it is flowing with peace, ease, and grace. And we've asked a beautiful expert about it. Ian Alvarez is a financial advisor under the Northwestern Mutual Wealth Management Company. He has expertise in business planning, tax mitigation strategies, and investments. And Ian offers comprehensive financial planning to help clients identify their needs and work on solutions to help bring their goals to fruition. Known for his unique and flexible approach, Ian believes in gaining a holistic understanding of clients' financial picture and building an architecture that reflects this. So listen, we have a perfect interview for him, so let's let Ian and take it away. You know, and I'm so happy to have our very special guest for today, Ian Alvarez. Welcome to SOULIVITY Today, man.
Thank you, Brian. It's a pleasure being here.
Absolutely, absolutely. I'm going to bring in Thompson back into this conversation as we're talking about, finding our personal financial flow with Ian today. My first question to you, Ian, is, man, how did you get interested in this work? I mean, you've done a whole lot in your life, different things, but what made you shift into personal financial management?
Yeah, great question, Brian. That's a very long story. I'll condense it super quickly. I obviously was in entertainment for almost the better part of a decade, and I would say necessity and noticing that other folks in my same industry had that necessity that sort of shifted my focus into trying to find more and more information and more growth within the financial sector, just to learn how to manage my own money. And one thing led to another, and next thing you know, I've been lucky enough to build a successful business off of offering services that I wish I had when I was in entertainment.
Yeah. That's, isn't that the truth though? I mean, once we find that we have to do something out of necessity, it kind of can shift us sometimes. So yeah, I like that story, man. D'Angelo, I'll go to you, man.
I think it's much needed, having someone like Ian coach and help, especially creatives. As you know, Ian, there's a strike right now with the WGA and SAG, which affects the entire entertainment industry. And I think it goes right back to personal finance, because a lot of artists are saying they're going to lose their homes. They can't pay college tuition or tuition for their children. So it goes right back to personal finance, Do you have clients in entertainment, and what advice have you been giving them?
Yeah, definitely an unfortunate situation that we're seeing. It's been a tricky couple of months, especially with the strike in here in LA. Luckily, most of the clients that have been affected by the strike, we actually did some very good preventative work. Not necessarily predicting that there would be a strike in the near future, but we do prepare for worst case scenarios and make sure that we have very healthy emergency funds to help carry them over from a financial standpoint for 2, 3, sometimes even 6 months without going out there and having to work. And so I say we've done the legwork, and not that it's a welcome situation, but we were prepared for it.
That's great. That's great.
Kind of continuing that, I hear stories, horror stories about some folks that even though they were prepared in certain ways, they weren't as prepared for something of this length and time. Have you had to, kind of shift what in terms of specific careers, like writers, like people who are in the film and TV industry, where the standard is you should have at least 6 months of cash reserve, right? That's there, that's ready to go. But in this instance, people, even though they had that, it's really difficult for them. So what are some of the strategies, the additional strategies that maybe you have been able to tell people that probably everybody needs to hear?
Yeah, great question, Brian. And I do want to make sure I'm clear. There is no amount of preparation out there that we can do to help with the psychological impact and emotional impact that an unexpected financial wrench like this could have on a particular individual. I want to make sure that's very clear. Now, from a strategy shift, of course, we're seeing a lot of our clients that are used to making different savings contributions for different reasons, different types of accounts that they're funding for different financial goals. All of a sudden they reach out and they're like, hey, I need to shift my priorities, because right now my priorities are not necessarily building a down payment for that home we want to get in the next 5 years, but rather how do we keep the lights on, or how do we keep the business running during such a difficult time where revenue has been affected.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's wow.
Yeah, go ahead, D.
Wow. That's amazing, because that's exactly what happened. We have annuities in our union. So I went into my annuity and I started moving things around. Whatever I can get the most cash from, I put my money into that. And also, just played around a little bit with my savings as well. I actually went more aggressive than not aggressive with my savings, because I was giving a little bit. Now, with one job, we'll talk about gig economy. I'll get to that in a second. But with one job in particular, half of it, I'm like, go into savings, half of it, because it's a job I wouldn't have normally had. I'm a professor at Kent State University. So that extra cash flow, 2 classes, there's a certain cash flow that comes with that. I was like, half of it into savings. So what is your advice for people who work in a gig economy, which is really what's going on in the 21st century? Most people have multiple jobs. Even if they have good jobs, they're multiple jobs.
Yeah. The gig economy is such an interesting contrast, because you can have folks that are wildly successful in their respective fields within the gig economy, but they don't necessarily know it, because the bulk of their income might be coming all fixated in one particular stage of the year. And maybe they go January all the way until August without making any significant income that they can depend on. And then from August to December, they have an inflow of cash that they weren't expecting. So it is a little trickier than your more traditional W-2 employees. My biggest rule of thumb with independent contractors is always make sure you're saving enough for taxes first. It's I can't state that enough, because of how little structure there is to the continuance of income and the predictability of the income, it can be a little harder to keep tabs on how much money you should be setting aside to make sure that you're paying the IRS on any given year and not fall behind. Once you're done with essentially getting your tax savings in order, then we can begin to properly plan for having an emergency fund, having retirement accounts set up, having some type of house fund in case you want to be a homeowner in the near future, or having some type of midterm wealth or midterm investment account simply because you want to make sure your money's put to work in a more aggressive way. But always start with taxes. I always say that.
Uncle Sam, what is it? Yeah, death, taxes, and something else or something like that. That's the realest in the world.
That's it.
So,
death and taxes, the only two things that are for certain.
That is so true. So true.
Listen, everybody, we're going to take a quick break, but don't worry, we've got even more of SOULIVITY Today coming up in our interview with Ian ALVAREZ, talking about finding your personal financial flow. We'll be back in just a couple of minutes. SOULIVITY Today is brought to you by Happy Travelers Tours and Old Vine Wine Tours. Find all of the Satana products at our Go shop at go.soulivity.com.
Have you ever asked the question, if I was to be anything, what would I be? Regardless of money, regardless of status, beyond popularity and fame, living your passion, feeling your life has purpose. SOULIVITY is a space to nurture that which lives in all of us, a place where work can become play, and doing what we love creates the dreams of a lifetime.
Hey, we're back with more here on SOULIVITY Today. We're talking about finding your personal financial flow with financial management expert Ian ALVAREZ. Let's hear more from our interview with him. You know, Ian, I was thinking about this question how it relates to things like businesses where we say cash flow is king, right? Is that also true within our personal finances as well?
Brian, that is a very old saying. I'll start with that, and very much still true to this day. You can fix a cash flow problem if you have positive cash flow. You can't fix it if you have negative cash flow. Meaning,
right.
the more money you are able to earn, and the more you keep your expenses in check, the easier it is for you to fix any potential financial wrenches that might be thrown your way, or the easier it is for you to set money aside for future necessity. And so, yes, to your point, cash flow is most definitely king, and especially younger folks that are becoming, are now entering the workforce to some capacity. Focus on increasing your income as fast as possible early in life, and then you'll be able to live below your means much sooner, which essentially it helps the wealth building timeline.
Wow. Wow, thanks for that. Yeah, I also always wondered that, because people try to think that, oh, well, business is business and personal is personal, but
Mhm.
there are lessons that we need to take through each of them, right? D, I'll go to you, man.
Cash is king. A lot of times because of what I do in the arts as a makeup artist, a lot of clients do pay in cash. But what I tell a lot of my peers is like, you should, catalog every job you make. So when you go to your accountant at the end of the year, you know exactly what you've made, you know exactly what you paid taxes on. So, Ian, how important is it to be organized? And I find that a lot of people with their personal finances are not organized. So, can you speak to that?
Oh, D'Angelo, I could talk on that for hours. Um,
Hmm.
so organization is at the core of finances. You're dealing with numbers, you're dealing with structure, you're dealing with repetition a lot of times, and that can be really tedious for at least the average individual who's really, really busy focusing on their particular careers. That's I would argue that's one of the biggest reasons I even have a job is because people have a tough time finding organization and structure
Yeah.
with their finances in a repetitive way over a long period of time, because that's the hardest part. So it is crucial, and it is at the core of making sure you're on track for whatever wealth building timeline you've set up for yourself.
I have one more question, Brian.
Hmm. Go
I
for it.
was talking to some young women. They're married or in long-term relationships, but they're married. They're newly married, and this was this past weekend. And it was interesting. Both of them said they let their husbands completely handle their finances. They don't even know. And my eyebrow went up. I was
Wow.
like, "What?"
Yeah.
These were
Yeah.
successful, very successful women. And I thought, and I did like I raised my brow and I said, "No, you need to know what's going on with your money."
Yeah.
you know? So,
Yes.
how often do couples actually sit down, Ian, and discuss your funds? I know,
That's a good
you know what?
question, man.
Tell me, you tell me.
Um, so I do have to admit it is difficult, and mostly for logistical reasons, but it is very difficult to get husband and wife or boyfriend and girlfriend or fiance and fiance together in the same room for a prolonged, 45 an hour and a half to have a full in-depth discussion, because you're balancing multiple schedules at once.
Yes.
It's been in my experience, and I hate to generalize, but it's been my experience that us men tend to lean a little bit riskier, a little bit. We have sort of an invincibility complex that we think we can handle everything at once, and then
Mhm.
it's been my experience as well that especially I've had the opportunity to work with a lot of successful, busy young women that
Mhm.
are actually taking the initiative of handling their finances on their own, which is
Mm.
not something that maybe we would have seen 20, 30 years prior. And so I'm very excited, and I feel very lucky to have the opportunity to see this next generation take finances by the reins and taking hold of them.
Oh, yes. I'm going to share this clip with them too. I'm like, especially the two ladies I'm talking about. It's like, come on, guys, come on.
Speaking of this, Ian, let's kind of keep this. Let's kind of keep this through line going here, because I think a lot of times people literally kind of disconnect themselves when it comes to their money. It becomes this thing that's over here that they have to manage, and to a certain degree, it is. But it's connected to us, right? We earn earnings through either our businesses or through a job or profession. And I was thinking, I wanted to ask you this question specifically, which is, before we even come to you or in the initial kind of meetings with you, do we need to do some personal reflection on ourselves, how we've handled money, what our goals are going to be, maybe talking that through with you, and then this becomes a really soulful experience? What do you think about that approach?
Yeah, that's a great question, Brian. And actually, in my initial meetings, and these are my first meetings when I meet a client for the first time and we sit down to discuss finances, I don't ask much about the numbers at all. I actually lead into conversations asking, what's your relationship to money? What have you been doing up to this point before we sat together? And you would be surprised how people respond to that, because they don't really stop to think what that relationship really is. They sort of go about their lives earning income because that's what they're told they need to do out of necessity to pay their bills, but they never stop to think, what am I doing with this? Am I simply going through the motions, or am I actually looking to build something for myself? And there's so much to unpack on that, and the psychology of money is so important, and it's so at the core of everything that I work with clients.
Well, that's good to hear, because I think a lot of times, a lot of us are still into the old paradigm of managing money, right? You go to school, you get a skill, whatever that is, you work for 30 years, 25, 30 years in a position, you put some money into a retirement fund or a 401k, and then you live your life after that. And I think to a certain degree, we're still kind of like shifting away from thinking about money in our lives that way. And so, I just wanted to get your thoughts on that. I love the fact that you're not even talking numbers before, that you're having this personal connection with them before you even get to, strategies or processes or any of that kind of thing. So that's great, man. I like that. I like that a lot. We talked a little bit about some of the elements of financial management. Is there a complete kind of scope that you kind of think about when you think about, okay, this person's wealth management or financial management and the different elements around that? What's your envisioning? Is it different for different people, or are there like certain pillars that you think everybody needs to have?
Great question, Brian. And obviously every person, every individual is very, very different with how they approach money, how they think about money, and what they're even thinking about planning for. I think at the core of everything financial and wealth management related is retirement planning. That's something that, for better or worse, everyone will go through at some point. There will come a time where you won't be able to produce income at the same capacity that you've been doing for the last 15, 20, 30 years. And so I always approach future conversations almost from the end back. So how do we take care of future you first? How do we take care of future you 30 years from now first versus 20 years from now, and then 10 years from now, and kind of work back from there? Because the further in the future you go, the more essential it becomes to have proper planning in place, and then kind of work back from there.
Right. Which makes it really important, D'Angelo, like people like you who've been independent contractors, basically being entrepreneurs for your entire career. It's like important for you guys to really understand how you're managing your money, and making sure that future you is taken care of, right? Ooh, I love this interview. Listen, we're going to take another quick break, but when we come back, we'll have even more of SOULIVITY Today with Ian Alvarez, where we're talking about finding your personal financial flow. We'll be right back in a couple of minutes.
6 years ago, when I started SOULIVITY, my vision was to support everyone in improving their life through the discovery of their passion and purpose, so they could become the best version of themselves, to battle fear and ignorance, and create a better world today. Get inspired to live your passion and purpose. Visit soulivity.com now.
Do you see me kneeling on this dual roller called Parasetter? It's actually comfortable because of this channel and the softness of the special foam. It feels like my kneecaps are being massaged. When I lie down, my spine is housed in this channel, while the convex rollers massage my muscles. They let go and lengthen. There's a traction effect from my head on the headrest and my mid-back from the rib wrap, which hugs me. When I start the breathing sequence, I feel calm because my cortisol levels are dropping. Lower cortisol means bye-bye constant hunger. Parasetter is 40 inches long and much more comfortable than old-style rollers, but it weighs only 10 ounces. Parasetter, just like Pilates was, is no longer an insider secret. Do yourself a favor. Reset your parasympathetic nervous system. Defeat stress. Lying, sitting, kneeling, or standing. This unique patented roller helps everyone.
Hey, we're back with more of SOULIVITY Today. We're talking about finding your personal financial flow with financial management expert Ian Alvarez. Here's more from my interview with him.
I love the idea, the conversation we're having about personal finance, but also I think you have to inject fun into your life. Okay.
Yeah.
So, that travel fund or, a sport that you may love, whether it's skiing or surfing or volleyball. So, Ian, do you suggest people have what I call a fun fund?
Yeah, great question, D'Angelo. So I'm 1000% with you, D'Angelo. There's definitely a very, very big role that hobbies and just personal passions have in a person's financial life. Believe it or not, the happier you are with your current life, the happier you'll be with planning financially. One thing that has become very, very interesting to our team over the last couple of years has been the emergence of this new FIRE movement. I believe it stands for Financially Independent, Retire Early. These are folks that are looking to essentially reach this almost work optional lifestyle or financially passive lifestyle where they can maybe continue to work in their 40s, 50s, maybe even mid to late 30s, but they do so in a more consulting capacity, earning some sort of partial income while at the same time having gathered enough assets up to that point where they could transition fully away from work if they wanted to, because they've done the legwork to build the necessary assets to live that way. And
Wow.
I think it's really good for the industry.
Wow, that's amazing. So take somebody out of college, it's 12 to 20 years. You already said it, that people are doing it right now, right? I mean, where they've managed their money in a way where they've built up enough wealth where income is being generated off of that wealth, right? For you, what's the difference between those two? I mean, I know there's the textbook definition, but for you, when you're talking to clients about the difference between wealth and income and that kind of thing, how do you position that with them?
Good question.
Great question, Ryan. It obviously income is something that we all need, right? We have bills, we have responsibilities to meet, and having access to a certain amount of income is what facilitates us going about our lives in the best way possible. Now, wealth, I would say that goes on a secondary tier after income. You can have high income, but if your expenses are just as high as the income that you're seeing come in, then you don't have the capacity to build wealth. Wealth is the accumulation of what's being left over after you've completely gotten rid of your expenses and there is some income still remaining. And that accumulation of remaining income turns into wealth if you structure it the proper way.
Wow, I love that definition, man. I really, really do. And that's been the first time I've heard it in that way. You know, you have the textbook definitions of wealth and income, and wealth can be your house and that kind of thing. But there's an expense and cost attached typically to those assets, right? And so I love the fact that you're bringing this full circle, saying, listen, after those assets are paid for, that's the wealth part of that, including equity, right? Including the equity part of that. Because if there's a loan or whatever on those properties or assets, that's still taking away from the amount of money that you would be making or not making off of that asset. So thank you for that, man. Wow. I'm glad I asked you that question.
I think, Brian, you like that. I think, Brian, you're using that information.
I'm over here call Ian after this interview. One last question for you, brother. You know, this is important work for everybody to take on, right? I remember when I first was talking to my first financial manager in my late 20s, and one of the things that he said to me was, you know, I'm going to help you develop a financial plan for yourself. One of the first things that you need to do is ensure your number one asset, which is you, right? So, you know, insurance policies, life insurance, and all those kinds of things were like the first things that we kind of knocked off of the table. For you, when you're talking about in today's times, because that was many years ago, what's important that you want people to know when they're starting out and they're developing a financial plan with you?
Great question, Brian. You know, it for the more traditional say payroll worker or employee that has a set salary, it is very important to protect the uncertain variables surrounding them, because again, the life insurances or the disability insurances, they can be very effective in protecting against uncertain outcomes, and when you remove uncertainty from the financial landscape, then all of a sudden you can focus primarily on the growth aspect, which is probably the most attractive aspect of wealth building. Now, I think starting with the basics even before removing these risk factors is really important. Making sure that you understand that you always want to make more than you spend. You always want to make sure your expenses are preferably substantially lower than the income that you're bringing in. If you have that terminology clear, that there's not really much that can get in your way if you have the necessary time to continue to put that to practice throughout your life. So starting with that, once you're able to save more than you make, save more than you spend, then you can move on to creating things like emergency funds in case something were to happen in the short term. Then you can look at all these different insurances to protect from uncertainty. Then you can look at investing your money. But it all starts at the core of making sure you have the discipline to not spend more than you're earning, which can be difficult, especially in today's economy.
You know, it's so funny because the simplest ideas can be the toughest ones, right? And this idea of that it's what money do you have going out and what money do you have coming in? You can't rob Peter to pay Paul. I mean, all these different sayings that have been a part of my life for a long time are still relevant today. And here you are, you know, this young man, you know, teaching people how to manage their money properly, saying this old saying again, don't spend what you don't have, right? I mean, you know, start there and then go from there to building wealth and having all these other things. So, man, thank you for that. You know, how can people learn more about you and find out more about your services?
So I and D'Angelo and I, we go way back. I make myself available to anyone who's looking to get questions answered. You can reach me directly via email at ian.alvarez@nm.com. If you'd like to learn more about our team, our services, the members in our community, you can visit my direct website, ianalvarez.nm.com. Once again, my email is ian.alvarez@nm.com, and my website is ianalvarez.nm.com.
Wow. Well, listen,
Perfect.
I hope,
Thank you.
I hope that people go and check you out today. I think the earlier the better. So even if parents who have, younger children and they're trying to teach their son or daughter about money, this is a great way to do it, right?
Yes,
a great investment. And then you're creating generational proper financial management from that point forward. Ian, thank you so much for being here, man.
Thank you.
I really, again, I'm going to ask you, would you come back and talk to us more? I would love to talk to you about the psychology of money and this kind of thing, as well.
Absolutely, Brian. Thanks again for having me. It's been an absolute delight and a pleasure.
Oh, absolutely.
Thank you.
Listen, everybody, we're going to take a short break and we'll be back with more SOULIVITY Today. SOULIVITY Today is brought to you by Assume control over your weight and broader health with the 80 Bites program by Physical Mind Institute.
For 50 years, we've been told, load up your plate with veggies. Load them up. Because all this spinach, look at it, all the spinach is only 100 calories. But avoid fat, because a tiny sliver of butter is also 100 calories. So spinach is good, butter is bad, right? But not today. Now we're told, put butter on everything, even in your coffee. Why? Because fat doesn't spike insulin, as carbs do. And stretching the stomach with all those veggies unbalances our digestive hormones. So eat healthy today means fat, fasting, stomach control, right here's the stomach. Forget calories. Hormones rule, and 80 Bites is the solution.
You can find out more about 80 Bites at soulivity.com/80 Bites.
Are you ready to take that first step towards true, unwavering inner happiness? Are you like thousands of people who have everything they need, not want, but need, and still can't seem to find happiness and fulfillment in their lives? If so, the Steps to Happiness show is for you. On my show, you will learn about the principles and practices that lead to true inner happiness. Because guess what? It isn't found in our external environment, but within ourselves instead. Together with my guests, we will explore the latest physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual well-being practices. And together, we'll advise you on the actionable steps you can take towards a happier, more fulfilled, authentic life. So I invite you to join me each week on SOULIVITY TV on the Steps to Happiness show with me, Teresa Greco.
Hi there, this is Brian with SOULIVITY.com. I want to share some exciting news about our new Aspire Academy by SOULIVITY. Now, you probably want to know what the Aspire Academy by SOULIVITY is. Well, it exclusively connects you with people around the globe and who share the intense desire to improve themselves and create a better life for themselves today. There's classes, there's workshops, there's live events, and even more exclusively just for you. You see, I wanted you to have a safe space where you could grow, you can learn, and it would empower you in all aspects of your life.
including your mind, your body, and your soul. So how do you get started? Well, it is so easy. First of all, the best part, joining Aspire Academy is absolutely free. Just click on the Join Now button, sign up, and begin your journey. As a special part of this invitation to you, there are some free courses that are available for you to try from our amazing roster of coaches and collaborators. It's our way of saying thank you for all of your support and being with us along our journey of expansion. I hope you enjoyed the Aspire Academy by SOULIVITY today. Start the process. Learn more about your passion, your purpose, and how to live a higher quality life.
Hey, we're back here with more of SOULIVITY today. We're talking about finding your personal financial flow. What came out of that interview with Ian was something that was really important, and that is there's this balance, right, that we all have to create for ourselves in terms of our finances. And I know sometimes with a lot of us, once we start this process of becoming more self-aware, which includes our passion and our purpose, we find it sometimes difficult because we hear this old adage and this old term around, money can't buy happiness, that focus on what you love and the money will come and all that kind of thing. All that's important. A lot of that is true. But also, we also have to have wisdom around our finances, right? Where as we're going through these processes, we have the money and the money is actually flowing through our lives to support us in what we want to do. I think it's just such a key aspect of finding your personal financial flow that sometimes goes overlooked. And that, as Ian was saying in the interview in terms of organizing yourself, making sure you know how much money is coming in, how much money is going out, all that's using your spiritual wisdom to manage a tool, which is money, not allowing your money to kind of rule your life and create sometimes negative feelings about it. So listen, I found this fantastic video that has an important message about exactly this from YouTuber Sam Roth, who tells us, from his own perspective in his own life, how to balance money and our spiritual practice so that we can go from surviving in our financial world to thriving. Let's listen.
We're often told things like money can't buy happiness when pursuing any spiritual or self-actualization endeavor. This is something I used to believe, but this perspective is changing. Let me explain through my own experience. This is a story I'm sort of ashamed to tell, but back in 2018, I can remember being completely sapped after a long day of working as a cardiac technician. I was waiting out the front of the hospital and I requested an Uber to come and pick me up. And a short while later, along drove in this silver middle-class hatchback car. So I lazily opened the door, sat down, feeling completely sapped, but then I was immediately greeted by this warm, friendly, 60-year-old-ish pudgy man who had teeth probably a little bit too white. And that's gonna make sense in a second, but he introduced himself as Dennis. Off we went, driving home, making small talk, and at some point, Dennis grabbed me and he sort of detonated with this compliment that he thought that I had what it took to become an entrepreneur. And I was really flattered by this, 60-year-old man who was really fatherly in his sort of vibe give me this compliment. And this would all be part of his strategy. Long story short, Dennis the Menace introduced me to network marketing through Amway Global, a pyramid scheme basically.
Let's everybody on the team recruit one person this month.
The promise was that if I kept reading books like Rich Dad, Poor Dad, The Slight Edge, or The Magic to Thinking Big, and implementing the strategies to the network marketing scheme, I would make huge amounts of passive income. And I think my mind at this time sort of correlated that if I I could get money, this will in turn give me status, and that will fix a lot of the insecurities and anxieties I was feeling at the time. And this was sort of my egoic introduction to personal finance. But long story short again, because I wasn't getting the results that I was after, I turned to self-improvement. If I can just do the self-improvement work to feel confident internally, then I will have the skill set and the soft skills to be able to make more money, which will give me more status and more confidence. Because logic. But with the self-improvement phase, this opinion would shift dramatically. I started watching more people like Jordan Peterson and Tim Ferriss, and eventually more spiritually minded people with the inception of my meditation practice in 2019. And a key theme that kept cropping up was that money cannot buy happiness, and material possessions will never satisfy you at the deepest level. And because I was quite unsatisfied with my financial gain and efforts from insecurity and to that point, and also in a way sort of like a fuck you to Dennis and his mentality as well, I sort of latched onto this piece of sage advice and used it to justify financial naivety. You know, like finances is something I can return to later. I mean, like, look at monks, right? They are the happiest people in the world, and they probably don't give any attention at all even to their finances. Or focusing on side projects and volunteering that don't actually earn any money are the right way forward for me at this point in my life. And at the end of the day, I had everything I really needed anyway to sustain me. I didn't feel like I really had much financial pressure, so I was completely okay and in a safe position. So I thought. So lately, as I mature and grow, and particularly get involved with a lot more men's work in adjunct to awakening and spiritual practice, a common theme of mature masculinity is complete independence, of separation from comfort, of stepping up into the world and taking full responsibility for everything in your life.
Break something. You gotta break that umbilical cord.
And a key realization I've come to is that I've been so freaking comfortable in my life. I'm so fortunate here in Australia. You know, we've got an amazing welfare system that looks after us if we're not working. I've had exceptionally supportive parents, and as a result, I've been able to prioritize personal growth and awakening, for that matter, as a priority, and dismissed any inclination toward making money as almost like a spiritual trap, right? That most of the world is enamored by, that I'm not going to fall for. That if I put my attention toward money in any way, that would somehow make me less happy and more neurotic and more caught in the wheel of samsara. So I feel like I've now been on the sort of two ends of the financial equation of looking to get money to make me fulfilled and confident, and then material possessions are gonna kill you, like they're not gonna make you happy at the deepest level. Most of the world is trapped in this mentality, and I'm sort of coming and converging to the middle point of wanting enough, of what the book Your Money or Your Life puts it, on the financial fulfillment curve, as to not give into materialism, but also recognizes the fact that we need to have enough money that will support the sort of life that I want to live. So for me, to be able to support a family as a man, to be able to earn enough that I can live a simple contemplative life, or to have enough time to give more acts of service in the world. So with this ideal future in mind, I think it's time for me to reverse the stack and start paying more attention to my finances. If my story of money and awakening resonated with you, the invitation is there for you to join me on becoming more financially aware and playing this game with our heightened awareness skillfully, so that we don't give into materialism or all that crap, but still being conscious of our finances, instead of neglecting that looming shadow and lack of independence that will bring us later on in life.
Whew, so good, so good. We'll be back with more Soulivity today.
Hi there, Sheila Applegate here with some exciting news. I've joined the incredible Soulivity team as the host of the new Consciously Awesome live show, where I will be sharing insights to help you discover your full brilliance and claim the vibrant life you deserve. So tune in every Wednesday right here on Soulivity TV to join the fun, and remember to subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss a single episode. Have an awesome week, and I will see you on Wednesday.
Would you like to be one of the first people to experience mental freedom? Mental freedom is a coaching practice with 6 core principles: improving hope, self-efficacy, optimism, resilience, and general well-being. Mental freedom only takes 6 sessions. It is designed to give you the tools you need to help yourself. It can help with any situation, relationship problems, past trauma, career decisions, parenting challenges, addiction, and mental health concerns. Incorporating the mental freedom framework into your life will deliver an approach to master any situation and a pathway toward achieving inner peace. Mental freedom provides the information and tools that you need to grow and be bigger than anything that ever happens to you. So if you're looking for one-on-one or a group coaching program that will allow you to address any situation that comes up in your life with practical tools to give you more peace and joy, then join the Mental Freedom Program in SOULivity's Aspire Academy. There are very limited spots available, so don't delay. I hope to see you there.
And we're back with more of SOULiVity Today. I really hoped that you enjoyed today's show on finding your personal financial flow. All the information about Ian we're going to have in the links in on the live video feed so that you can go and check out Ian. I highly recommend just a quick conversational call if you're so led. Also, we have a lot of great new information and new content on our website. Why don't you go check us out at soulivity.com, where for 24 hours a day, there's live streams that are going on with video content, as well as new articles that are there just for you. And while you're there, why not go check out our SOULiVity Today page, where you can learn more about our sponsors, including Old Vine Wine Tours and 80 Bites. In fact, if you go to the 80 Bites page, you can also find out that there's a free app for you to enjoy to help you gain more power over your nutrition and your weight and your diet. Also, please follow us on social media, especially YouTube, where you can subscribe to our channel and get live updates and live reports when we're going live on our programs, just like SOULiVity Today that you're listening to right now. Listen, on behalf of all of us here at SOULiVity, I want to thank you for joining us for this SOULiVity Today. You can watch us every Monday through Friday at 8 a.m. Eastern here on our SOULiVity TV channels, or you can watch us at 8 a.m. Pacific time on KMET 1490 AM radio out in Southern California for all of our buddies out on the West Coast. Listen, until next time, keep having conversations that empower, talking about your passion and your purpose so you can create your best life today of high quality living. This is Brian Westley Johnson saying thanks again, and we'll see you next time. Bye for now.
This work is subject to copyright owned by Affinity Global LLC. Any reproduction or republication of all or part of this is expressly prohibited unless Affinity Global